Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we are back with some more Yu-Gi-Oh! Tier lists. However, this time, we're doing something a bit different. Oh, let me go into presentation mode. Sorry. This is, as you can probably tell by the title and the thumbnail, the best decks that are world premieres, as in they're released to the TCG and not the OCG. Best decks all time. And because of the fact that these are technically world premieres, I wanted to include them as holistically as possible, meaning I'm going to be including things like Duel Links and when they were finally given to the OCG, how well they overall performed, and just kind of like how good the deck is as a world premiere. Now, some of these obviously do not have enough information. So I'm gonna just make a tier here that's like don't know, because we just don't have enough information on them, but pretty standard SABC. But yeah, I'm actually just going to move this to F for failure, because obviously. But yeah, pretty much it's pretty simple. It's all of the like TCG exclusives that eventually went to the rest of the world, but kind of like starting in the TCG. So we're going to start here with Vendred. Vendred is very interesting because in specific formats, most notably in Duel Links, for a short period of time, it was competitive, and then in the NR format, it was one of the best decks as well, but that's in NR format in Master Duel, which I wouldn't necessarily consider because it was already released in that game and received some new support as of recently. However, it wasn't because of the new support, but it's still one of the things where it's like, that was technically a different thing, and it wasn't really necessarily part of that world premiere, but this is still part of the deck. However, even with all of that being said, it's still an F tier. Vendreds have had almost zero relevance at all in terms of its competitive viability across basically everything. Yeah, that's basically it. Goaty, I don't know if this has yet gone to the OCG, but I believe it has. Even with that being said, I still think that Goaty is in a similar boat to Vendred, just not really performing very well, not really doing enough. It wasn't up to the standard of most of the other decks. That's kind of it. We'll put it above Vendred. Actually, I might just put it in B tier. We'll put it in F for now. Beat Troopers were actually pretty decent in the TCG. They were about a rogue tier deck. And in basically every other game, they've always been more or less rogue tier. They were a little bit better in the OCG. Being able to actually search out Max C was very nice. But all in all, not insane by any stretch of the imagination. Just like slightly better, and actually had some decent relevant play and some relevant builds as well. Burning Abyss is an S tier, easily. In the TCG, it was the best deck for quite some time. I think it almost became tier 0. It was like very clearly the best deck. Once it received Beatrice, became very, very strong. And then on top of that, which was very funny because in the OCG, they got Beatrice before we got it, and then we got Beatrice, even though we got the BAs before, I think, is how that worked, which was very strange. But it also was in Duel Links, also like the best deck. So this is easily one of the best decks of all time as a world premiere, and just one of the best decks of all time. Dante target Seer, Seer target Dante. Am I right? FA is just bad. Look, yeah, FA is just bad. I don't really have anything else to say. It's just, it never performed. The only time that it performed was in specifically Duel Links with the skill level augmentation. You could level augment Hang On Mock to basically just be Macrocosmos. That's all that was. Period. That's all that it was. It wasn't actually the deck doing anything in particular. It was one singular card in one singular, like, patch of the game. It wasn't even, like, a long stint of playability, and the only reason it was even remotely playable was because of how good Dark Lords were in that game. So, I wouldn't really consider this any higher. Tistina is a deck we just do not know about. It hasn't been released everywhere, and in fact, it, like, just barely came out. So while, yes, I would say, as of right now, it's bad, we're also still receiving support. We still haven't gotten all of the cards for Tistina. In fact, they are literally coming out in, I believe, Agov, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not Agov, but I think it's in the, maybe it is in Agov. I don't know. It's coming out soon in the TCG. So there's that. But yeah, so someone I'm sure can correct me on when the new Tistina support is, as well as like Ken and Gen and all of that stuff. But yeah, very, very strong cards, at least as of right now, but unsure. I think that they have a lot going for them, just unsure as to how they're actually going to perform, especially since they haven't even gone to the OCG. Next up, War Rocks are just the definition of bad. They're still better than like most of these cards, but yeah, they're just bad. Haven't performed well. Not very strong. Same with Valkyries. Just look, the TCG has not had very many exceptional decks released in its format. But even with that being said, think about how many decks are terrible in the OCG that eventually get ported over, and it's like, yeah, you know, they had Ojama. What do you want? Elder Entity is, I think I'm going to go into the A tier. Norden, Entis, was the other one? Azathoth. All insane. Some of the rest, not so much. But yeah, all in all, very, very strong. The fact that this is mostly an extra deck archetype, though, and not necessarily a full deck, I'm not going to say it like brings it down, but like that is something to take into consideration. It also hasn't been released in like in Duel Links, mostly because it'd be absolutely broken. So there you go. Maybe I should put this in S tier. I might move it up, but for right now, I think I'm going to keep it in A. Paleos are very, very good. Paleos on release were incredibly strong in like a 60 card variant with like Zodiac and stuff like that. Or was it with Zodiac? I forget. Very good as like a stall strategy, just being able to consistently recur additional bodies onto your side of the field to go for XZ plays and the like. Just overall a very strong deck. Still sees play to this day. And notably, Canadia, in particular, was one of the best cards in Duel Links, which brings it up even higher on that list. So there's that. Yeah, very, very strong deck. Next up, we have ourselves this. Dream Mirror is fine. I'm lying to you. It's so bad. It's so unbelievably bad. Gate Guardian goes slightly above the really bad tier. I'm actually going to move this guy up as well. Cody, I think, deserves to be up here. Oh, I guess there is another problem with Gate Guardian, and it is the simple fact that I don't believe it's been released everywhere. It's not in Master Duel, so I don't think it's in the OCG as of yet, and I don't know where else has it, or if anyone else has it. But even with that being said, I feel like this is a deck that I don't expect to realistically be doing a whole lot. But it actually does have some plays. It's at least slightly decent. So I'm going to say that it's in B tier, even though we don't really know too much. Next up, Gold Pride. Gold Pride has been out not nearly as long. Okay, I don't say... No, I think it was released around the same time now that I'm thinking about it. I'm going to put it at the top of B. I think Gold Pride has shown enough that, like, it is playable, but I think a lot of it has to do with Punk being very good as well. But, I mean, Punk is in every format as well, so it's not like that's a crazy ask. And all in all, I do think that just overall Gold Pride is still very good. Lots of really good interactions. Being able to play on the opponent's turn is very strong. Being able to like the life decrease is pretty decent, or at least like the effects with the decreased life is pretty decent. But all in all, they're not going to do anything insane. They're just going to be a rogue deck, but they're still a decent deck. Kaijus, I think, just have to go in S tier. Maybe not. I'm going to put them in A tier. Below... Elder Entities are so busted. Yeah, we're definitely going to put the Kaijus in A tier, though. Very, very strong. Just generic outs are very nice. But overall, the archetype never really did anything as a deck. But obviously, we still see to this day, our Kaijus are being used consistently throughout Yu-Gi-Oh's history. So, very, very strong deck, and definitely very strong throughout history and on release. And as a TCG exclusive, very good. Cosmos as well, I think, were instrumental in the TCG specifically. They haven't had much success elsewhere. I think they had a little bit of playability in the OCG, but wasn't anything insane. But it was the best deck in 2016? A little bit further back. 2015. I don't know. Around that time. Can't remember exactly when Cosmos were the best deck. But at around that time, they were very, very strong. Specifically in the TCG as a TCG exclusive. Very good overall. And yeah, just saw tons of play and was good. Don't really know what else to say. Yes, we haven't seen them in... or we never really saw them do much more outside of the TCG, but even with that being said, I think it was mostly due to the power creep of the rest of the game, not necessarily how good the deck was itself. So I do think it's just kind of like a tier above. Pretty good, but not insane. Mutants didn't really end up doing anything. In fact, they're probably down here. They just really, I never ever saw them. They're not worse than Gate Guardians, right? Right. Yeah, we'll put them in B tier. No, I'm gonna move both of these down. I think that they're just both really, really bad. Yeah, they just didn't perform. Cool concept, cool idea, just didn't really execute well. Guru, sub-tiers are interesting because Guru is so very, very strong and did end up seeing a lot of play with like Guru stun control decks. I do think I have to put it higher, but the sub-tiers themselves weren't great. However, very strong deck in Duel Links. Was like tier 2 for quite some time in early Duel Links. So maybe I put it a little bit higher because of its stint in Duel Links. So overall, as a TCG exclusive, or at least a TCG world premiere, very strong. Next up we have Plunder. Plunder is the perpetual rogue deck, but I do think that overall it has better representation. Not representation. I think it's had better overall consistent tops since its release than Gold Pride. I think Gold Pride just hasn't been around for long enough for me to really say that like this is consistently a good deck, whereas Plunder has been, and I've been like, yeah, this is a decently rogue deck in almost every format and has been pretty good since release. So I'm gonna put it just ever so slightly higher than Gold Pride. If this was not Redoer, this deck would be the bottom. Not really. But yeah, honestly, Time Thieves aren't really that great besides Redoer, in which case Redoer literally brings it up like an entire tier. But I'm not going to do that because I don't think that like the one card really changes the deck, or like truly brings it up that high. It's very strong though, and yeah, Redoer is an insane card. I forget the name of this deck. It's the ritual one. It's like JoJo reference or something like that. Can't remember. Don't really care. They didn't really do anything, honestly. Honestly, they're probably worse than Gold Pride. Yeah, we'll put them there. So Noble Knights are interesting because they did so poorly everywhere except for Duel Links, which is why I am actually going to put this slightly higher. They were the best deck in Duel Links because of a broken skill, but not really because of a broken skill. Only partially because of it. It basically just guaranteed that they were able to see a more consistent hand. But even after that, they were still playable, so it wasn't like it was entirely dependent on the skill. But all in all, I will say that yeah, the deck wasn't all that great, but I do want to put it a little bit higher because of Duel Links. UA was only ever rogue like once, and then it died immediately. And I say rogue No, it was Rogue. It was like one of the options to play because it was cheap, more so than anything. But I mean, UA, yeah, really just didn't perform. I would say that Spiral is better than BA, but I do not think that it is because I believe it didn't. Maybe it did. I don't know. This is hard. You could argue either one. I'm gonna put Spiral below BA, just because I think that Spiral didn't perform for as long, mostly because it got hit like almost immediately, and then it no. I don't know. Spiral is still insane. I think I am going to put Spiral above, because if I remember correctly, I mean, it was tier 0. I really don't think I need to explain myself other than that. It was tier 0, whereas BA wasn't. Yeah, pretty much self-explanatory. Tier 0 in the TCG, I believe, is tier 1. It might have... No, I think it was tier 0 in the OCG as well. It was just like a nightmare. Such an insane deck. Being able to like link spam the most efficiently, the consistent ways to non-hard once per turns was very, very strong. Just overall, truly insane. Dangers are probably the best supportive archetype that we've ever had. Up there with like Invoked and the like. Yeah, just Dangers are insane. They're very, 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 very good. Being able to like discard a card as as effect is very strong. Being able to special summon themselves while also replenishing their hand, being able to like activate when discarded, and all sorts of different things that are very strong just in a wide range of decks is very nice. Also as like a draw engine and getting bodies onto the field. Just yeah, like an insanely good engine. I'm actually, yes, going to put them higher than Kaijus. Yes, Kaijus are more consistently seen in like side decks, but I do think that that is mostly just because of the effects that they have, and I think Kaijus have other cards that also do similar things, like for example, Sphere Mode or Lava Golem or Santa Claus or stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, the Kaijus are nice, but mostly because of what they ended up being as like a way to tribute a monster your opponent controls. And I think the Dangers actually do provide a lot more as an archetype by themselves, as well as support for other decks, similarly to how Kaijus kind of work. But I will say that they are just a tier above. They're just so incredibly powerful. But yeah, that's going to be it for this tier list. I know it's kind of weird, but I just saw this and was like, I need to do this because it's really, really cool. Really cool idea. So yeah, world premiere decks that premiered in the TCG or in the world, and how they performed overall throughout their lifespan. That's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, I like us very much, so appreciate it. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.